If you're looking to get into photography, the Canon EOS 800D is equipped with a heap of features to help you get creative with your photography. So we'll start with a few of the simple things that'll walk around in the 800D. First of all, we have an interchangeable lens camera. So to release the lens on this model, we have our lens release button here. We twist our lens in an anti-clockwise direction, which will allow us to remove that lens. You'll note that there's a red and white dot for reference for lens type to allow us to line that up quickly and efficiently to be able to change our lens given our creative content. The EOS 800D uses an SD card. You'll find the SD card slot on the right hand side beneath your hand grip. Simply click back and release with your thumb. Push on the card to release the card, and it's the reverse to put it back in. Push firmly till it clicks, close the door, and we're ready to shoot. As for the battery compartment, if we just flip underneath, you'll see that there's a little space there for your fingernail to be able to release that battery and remove for charging external to the camera. To put it back in, it's the exact reverse. Note that there is an arrow determining the direction of the battery. It goes straight back into the hand grip, and the rear door closes with a click. The 800D has a very simple on-off function dial. To turn the camera on into stills mode, we move that dial forwards to the on position. And if we'd like to take a video, we move it forward one more step to the video mode. Like many EOS cameras, the 800D has a mode dial on top. This allows us to change between automatic, semi-automatic, and full manual modes, which really unlocks our creative mind. The 800D has two ways of changing the autofocus point. First of all is the key to the right-hand side where your thumb would normally sit on the hand grip. That enables our autofocus screen. We can then use our left hand to utilize the touch screen to move through the various options of autofocus. An alternate way is also accessing that same screen via your right thumb at the top. And then if we tip the camera back a little bit, you'll notice that there is a autofocus point button on the top there next to ISO, which will also allow us to cycle through the 4 different autofocus options available. So on the EOS 800D, like many other EOS models, we have the opportunity here to turn our display on and off. In this particular model, the display on-off function is up in the top here, located right next to the ISO button. It simply allows us to turn that display off if it were a distraction at night time, for example, or if we were trying to conserve batteries. The 800D has a scroll wheel located on the top, right behind the shutter release button. This allows us for fast playback and review of previously taken images. The 800D also has a hot shoe on top. This is to accessorize the camera with speed lights, flashes, and external microphones. When looking through the optical viewfinder on the 800D, you'll find at the bottom of the screen some really important shooting information, such as shutter speed, aperture, ISO, and also frame count, how many photos you've got left on the memory card. If this detail is not clear to you, there is a diopter just to the top right-hand side of the viewfinder, which will allow you to optically adjust the viewfinder to your eyes. You'll notice on the 800D that there are some buttons that are labeled in blue. The blue buttons on a Canon camera indicate playback. So for example, if we were to play back a photo and we looked at the plus and minus buttons up the top right, this will allow us to zoom in or zoom out of the photo, which is a great feature for checking focus. Other blue buttons that you will find in playback are things like the trash can, to be able to delete previously taken photos you may not like anymore. You'll also notice on the 800D that it has an exposure lock or AE lock button, which is signified by a star, right next to the focus point adjustment button. The EOS 800D has some really great guided menus. And like most cameras, we have the opportunity to change our exposure and compensate that during an automatic setting. To do this on the 800D, we simply hold the plus minus button and use our top scroll to be able to increase or decrease our automatic exposure. There's a handy little hint button on the 800D also, which is the Q button. This allows us to be able to operate anything within the touchscreen simply by pressing Q and then pressing the item that we would like to change, then using the top scroll button to be able to manipulate that particular setting. You'll also find the Q button in the bottom left-hand corner of the touchscreen, and it'll allow you to touch at that point and then touch any of the settings on the screen you wish to change. The 800D is equipped with Wi-Fi, and it's easier to use than ever. Simply press the Wi-Fi symbol button on the back. It'll take you straight to the wireless settings. This has made it really simple to connect your camera through to your smartphone to be able to download your photos directly. We also have assistance videos on how to set up your Wi-Fi for Apple and Android. You'll also notice the WB button on the back, which stands for white balance. That allows us to change the white balance of the camera from automatic to sun, shade, tungsten, fluorescent, dependent on the light that we're shooting in. Also in this feature set, you'll see an AF button, which stands for autofocus, or more specifically the autofocus mode the camera is in. Standard, out of the box, the camera comes as one shot, meaning it's a lock focus. But we can also use settings such as AI servo if we were tracking high-speed movement or shooting sport. To the bottom, you'll notice the My Picture Styles button. This is a great little spot here if you want to get creative, being able to change between auto picture style standards landscapes, but more importantly, if you want to shoot in monochrome, for example, you will find the settings here under the My Picture Styles. Just to the left-hand side, you'll see a multiple box button. This is the drive mode button. What it allows us to do is select between single frames, high speed burst, low speed burst, 10-second or 2-second self-timers. At any stage, if you want to review your photos, simply look for the playback button, which is located just at the bottom next to your right-hand thumb. In playback, you can either select to go left or right, or you can utilize the touchscreen and simply swipe. Also within the playback feature, you can pinch zoom to check focus, or alternatively use the plus and minus buttons located up to the right-hand side. To change some of the system parameters in the camera, we do have a menu button located up the top left-hand side here. Put simply, Canon puts all the shooting settings in the red menu, playback settings in the blue menus, functions or base system settings in the yellow menus, and then there's also a display setting for the 800D, which is located in the green. The 800D also has an info button on the rear, and it essentially changes between displays. At the moment, we've got the guided display on. If I simply hit the info button one time, I end up with an electronic leveler. And this is really handy if you're trying to get your horizon in a tricky situation. Maybe it's on a tripod and you're just trying to find that perfect level before you shoot sunset. You simply move the camera until you see the line turn green and you know you've found your level. To turn that off, simply hit info one more time and it'll take you back to the guided screen. So like many of the EOS products, there is an inbuilt flash in the top of the camera. To activate this when you're in a manual mode, you'll locate a flash trigger release button next to your left thumb when gripping the lens. If you push that button, it will pop the flash for you. Note, if you are in full green auto mode, the flash will pop automatically. The 800D is also equipped with a depth of field preview button. It's just here underneath the lens release button. Some of the accessories available for the 800D plug in on the left-hand side here. Just behind these rubber flaps, you will find some ports suitable for a remote release trigger, an external microphone, USB, and also mini HDMI outputs. The 800D, being a great video camera, also has a left and right stereo microphone at the front and a built-in speaker for reference on the side. The 800D also is equipped with a flip-out multi-rotational screen, allowing you to be able to shoot under or over a crowd, or adversely, take the perfect selfie. You can also stow the screen inwards to protect the screen from any scratches when stowed. So the shutter button, like on most EOS cameras, is located at the top right-hand side of the camera in a nice comfortable position right below your right index finger. This button has two functions: half press for autofocus, full press for shutter release. Whilst we're talking about the top, also located just behind the shutter release button is the ISO button. And this allows us to change the sensitivity of the camera dependent on the light conditions that we're shooting in. At the top in the middle, you will also find a jog wheel. And this wheel serves the purpose of changing the settings for the mode that you're currently in. For example, I'm in TV mode at the moment, and by operating this wheel, I can lower or increase my shutter speed. This wheel also, in manual mode, will control shutter speed, and with the addition of holding my thumb on the AV button, I can use that wheel then to change aperture. I hope this has helped you learn a little bit more about the 800D. If you follow the link to the advanced video, we're going to go through a few of the features in a bit more depth to assist you in becoming more creative with your photography.